Hello, friends, truth seekers, change makers. How's it going? It's Amelía here from Know the Self Mystery School. And I wanted to jump on here live today and tell you a personal story. I don't know about you guys, but I know with this whole pandemic quarantining, we are getting triggered. And sometimes when we get triggered, we act out or we, maybe say things or do things or we start polarizing. So I wanted to just check in here with you guys and tell you my triggers, just kind of be transparent and just share with you something that was like a serious nightmare for me. It wasn't recent. It was back in 2015, and I was in the middle of producing a very large event that happened in March of 2015. It was the World Water Day. And I was a producer of the event in Oakland. And this was a United Nations event. We had amazing sponsors. And basically, I gathered about 1,500 people in Oakland to meditate out at Lake Merritt and to bless the lake. It was called Bless the Lake. Anyway, while I was preparing for this event, I had a series of things happen to me that was extremely triggering. But this nightmare I had, I think it was like the night before the event or a few nights before the actual event. But I woke up like soaking wet. It was one of those nightmares that like to this day, I remember so clearly. I was walking on a rooftop garden in Oakland on top of the Kaiser Center. For those of you who are from the Bay, you know what I'm talking about. And I was walking with a friend, and some police were pointing at me, and they were like, "There she is, that's her." And I hid behind a bush, but I wasn't really hidden. So they obviously found me, and they pulled me out. And what I understood is that they were rounding up women who were outspoken or women who they couldn't silence. And they put me into this black like interrogation booth. It was just covered in black paint. And they showed me 3 masks. There were 3 masks sitting on a counter, and it was a very small closet, pitch black. And there was a window, one of those dual pane windows, are like, I couldn't see that there were people looking at me on the other side. And I could hear the voice on the speaker, and they were saying, choose the mask. And the 3 masks were a gas mask, a full facial gas mask. One was like an S&M sort of ball gag, and the other one was like a horse bite. And they told me that I would have to wear one of these masks for the rest of my life as a example to all the other people, to all the other women, to silence them, basically. And the next thing I knew, they were like fitting this harness on my mouth. And I was in just like an extreme shock. And I woke up in that space, like in a state of shock. And it was somehow I understood that we were under some kind of Islamic rule where women no longer had a voice. And what happened at the event just the next day or a couple days later was they tried to, there was a character that was a part of the committee in putting the event together who tried to ask me to step down. So it was my event. I wasn't making any money off it. A spiritual reason, actually. I heard that I was supposed to anchor light right there. And then this opportunity arose and I organized this event, and I worked really, really hard and brought a lot of people together. I had like over 50 volunteers working on this event with me. And basically him and like 3 people staged a protest during a meditation in front, because they thought that a white woman should not be leading the meditation. And then after the event, they kind of, he said some things about me on Facebook, said I was a racist, and because I wouldn't step down. And anyway, I had death threats after that. This was all just for leading a meditation in Oakland. And because I kind of dismissed him at one point because he was trying to take over my event, and he was like a 28-year-old younger guy who was trying to take down and take over what me and a team of like 50 people had created. And if I was guilty of anything, it was kind of dismissing him. But he basically called me racist. I then had death threats after me. This is all for leading a meditation. I had multiple other spiritual leaders writing me email messages, asking who I worked for, what I was doing. So it was just this crazy time in my life. And then about a month later, my house burned down, or a couple months later, and people thought these 2 incidents were connected. Anyway, obviously this created this nightmare, got grounded in my life. And then I started to have these experiences that were just overwhelming. And I moved to the woods, and I wrote my book, Synchronicity, and I started to recover. And if some of you guys saw my pandemic stance, I share a little bit about my background and my interesting and maybe very different perspective on what's happening. And these masks are triggering me. Every time I see the mask, when I see people promoting the mask, I see it as this top-down authoritarian rule to silence us. I want to be clear that I'm not at all a Trump supporter, nor do I believe that people should, be running around spreading their germs on others. There is a virus, and people are getting sick, and there are people with, that are high risk, that we need to take care of. So I want to be clear that I'm not promoting reckless behavior or this kind of anarchy in a sense. So I think people are, there's so much polarization going on right now. People are getting really, really triggered. And I just wanted to be upfront about what I'm being triggered by. And I would love to know, what is triggering you? Like, are you having nightmares? Is this whole situation bringing up feelings and sensations, or maybe dreams? I know we have a lot of empaths in the group. A lot of you are here to really create change. And those of us that have a strong mission and came here to do something, this is going to be triggering some deep wounds that need to come up for clearing. And for myself, I try and find balance. Like if I have a really strong trigger, I try and clear that until I can come into like an unemotional place about it in order to deal with it and to understand what it means for me. And so that prompted me to write my blog post. So if you haven't read it, check it out. I put it in the links to this, to the, what do you call it? The notes of the video. Hey, Laura, I just was reading your comment. You had to wear one around your mom when she was in the hospital. Yeah, I mean, when people are sick and we need to take care of them, of course, wear a mask, like use your own discretion. I just want to be clear that, where I live in Mexico, we're enforced to wear a mask. If we don't wear a mask, we're threatened with jail time. I'm not joking. You could be out alone on a bicycle in the middle of nowhere, and they will stop you, ask you, where's your mask? And if you put it on, it's not a big deal. But if you're not wearing it, they tell you that they will put you in jail. They're stopping people in cars that are alone in a car, and asking them why they're not wearing a mask. For me, when I have a mask on, I find it really difficult to breathe. I feel like I'm being choked and stifled. It does not feel healthy to me. It triggers this memory of the dream I just shared. And and yet I was talking to a friend of mine who's in Montana, who in her county, when she goes out with a mask on, she's getting verbally assaulted for wearing one. So that blew my mind, because I didn't even know that was happening. So where you live, is it mandatory to wear a mask or not? These things concern me, when our rights are being taken away, when we're not allowed to govern ourselves. And then I find, like, within my own community, with people I love, there are people that are getting upset with me saying that the mask is a symbol of censorship. Because for me, what I'm noticing is that so many people that I respect, who have a tremendous amount to share with the world, are being silenced on YouTube. Their videos are being taken down. Suddenly, anyone who's talking about what I think is the real situation going on is being removed off the YouTube channel. So is that concerning you guys or not? I think we need to look at the bigger issue here. Laura's saying it's mandatory when you're not able to social distance in public stores. Yeah. No, the resorts are not open here, Laura. We have a mandatory to wear it the second we walk out of our house. And we don't really have a lot of cases here. For the most part, it's pretty relaxed. Like, my life hasn't changed super dramatically, although, I'm not able to go to the beach. Our beaches are closed. All of our non-essential businesses are closed. So it's hard to get enough exercise and just, do things. But I still meet some of my friends. We just have to meet in our houses. And, I'm not going around people that are high risk, and I'm very aware of that. But I think I've always lived like that. I always take care of the elderly or anyone who has a compromised immune system. And when I'm sick, I stay at home. So I just wanted to clarify some of my stance for those of you who did read my blog and were curious. I think a lot of us, this lockdown is pressurizing us, right? We're getting agitated. We're having days that are really difficult. People are going into deeper depressions now, or really getting to those trigger points. And this is what I was trying to explain in my blog, is that this is a war on the psyche. So if you're feeling triggered, I want to say that there's two things that are coming up that I think are really important. One is that that trigger, that anger, that grief or sadness, there's a gift in that for you. Like, you're here to bring something forward. But we need to clear the trigger first before we kind of bring it out into the world, right? So what I noticed, and what happened for me, having had that crazy dream in 2015, and then having this experience now, and seeing everyone compliantly wearing the masks, and friends of mine like designing masks and telling me they're going to send me a mask, and me just feeling so triggered, like, I'm not going to wear a mask. Like, I personally have not purchased one. I wear a scarf or a bandana or something, because I don't want to buy into this idea that I'm going to be silenced. And then I realized, for me, it was like, oh, I need to tell my story. It's time for me to start talking. So I'm actually appreciating it and finding the gift in it. Like, okay, it's more important now than ever before for me to speak. And since I have been silenced most of my life, from the church I grew up in to the work that I was doing to corporations and governments that have tried to silence me. And I'm not going to go into my whole story right now, but please read my blog post to hear more about that. And I'm finding that I'm being activated to speak out more and to be seen more. And that hasn't felt safe for me. So what's happening to you? Where are you getting triggered? Where are you getting activated? I would love to help you discover what that is. Feel free to write it in the comments. Go deeper, friends, because there's something so beautiful. I really see like a renaissance coming. I see this as a time of unearthing the gift underneath some of our deepest wounds, our deepest pains. And I think that this is an opportunity to do that. So I hope you're doing that work for yourself. I have a phone call coming in and somebody waiting for me. So I'm going to leave it there today. Thank you guys for being here with me, and welcome to all the new members here in the group. This is such an important time for us to be alive. Like, I think that when we find what we're here to bring forth, we're going to make the world such a beautiful place. So please don't give up hope. I know it can be scary. I know it can be challenging, and we're all just having to ride out this fluctuation. Okay, thanks for being with me today, and I'll talk to you guys soon.